Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. So I just wanted to pop in and check in on you guys today and see how everybody's doing today. I know it's been about a week for many of us that things have been shut down or we've been actually told to stay home, and it can start to be feeling a little constricting for many of us. So I wanted to just talk about how we're feeling and then offer a different perspective. First thing that's really important to know at this time, and of course you know this factually, but what's really important to understand, like in our guts, is that this is unprecedented. What is going on in the world right now has never happened before. So every single person, and in that regard, everybody that you can think of on the planet, is experiencing something similar at the same time. We are accustomed to being able, at least we in North America, are accustomed to being able to live our lives with great freedom, freedom of thought, freedom of movement. And this is the first time for so many of us we've been asked to just stay at home. You know, I was talking to a much older cousin of mine who lived through polio. And she said in her memory, it actually didn't last this long because she remembers there being a vaccine very quickly. I'm not sure that's true. I would want to check the history on that. But in any case, that was the last time there was something really dangerous and really contagious in the world. And it's just so different. So just to be aware that if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling worried, if you're afraid, if you're just off your game and you don't feel like doing anything, that is totally normal. And this will normalize. But what I don't want people to do initially, excuse me, is beat yourself up for just being human. So I think it's really important for us to understand that these emotions we're all having are normal human emotions. And the more you actually try to fend them off or ignore them, the stronger they are going to be brewing under the surface, and that's where you get some kind of eruption, right? Like a volcano. You can't contain a volcano. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's going to be let loose, and then there's calm again. Or if you think about trying to calm down a toddler who's having a tantrum in the grocery store, which of course these days we don't because so many of us are not going to the grocery stores, but that sort of classical image of the toddlers screaming and crying on the floor, if you try to fight that and yell at them and tell them what a bad girl or boy they are for doing that, what happens? They scream and yell more. If you calmly accept it and let it ride itself out, then they eventually just spend their energy and they relax ultimately. So it's the same with us. When we accept it without trying to prevent it, that's when our emotions actually can come back a little bit in balance. So I think that's really, really important. The second thing to remember about this is, humans are tribal animals. We forget that we have only had civilization for a short time in the great span of our evolution. And so our brains are still wired to want to be part of the tribe. And what that means is people function better, feel better, and their emotions are calmer when we are part of a community. So it's really totally normal to feel like you're cut off from your normal community, who, even if that's a job you ostensibly hate, right? You could complain about your job all you want, but when you can't go there every day and you don't get to interact with all the people there, it feels like you've been cut off. And so for so many of us, that's part of it. Family, friends, even just normal daily activities like going to a store where you're surrounded by people, we've been cut off from that. And so it's totally normal to feel off kilter and like things maybe are not so great in your body, in your mind. So what I wanted to offer today is a slightly different perspective, a way for us to look at this as something that isn't all negative, because it can feel that way, right? So the first thing I want you to remember is that, the human race is all in this together right now. Think about that. When did ever anything happen that affected every human on the planet at the same time. We are all, literally all of humanity is going through this at the same time. So on that level, we're actually more connected than we've ever been. And some of the things I see going on online with group Zoom calls, or even the fact that so many really well-established institutions are offering so much of their content for free is amazing. And you might, I think in times like this, you see the worst of humanity and you see the best of humanity, right? So let's focus on the best of humanity. And then the second thing that we can actually do in a sort of a proactive way is to think about how might this someday be something positive that happened in our lives. And I know that sounds almost crazy to say at this moment, but I've talked about this before with my candida diagnosis. You know, when I first was treated for candida and first had all those symptoms and was going through that truly, truly horrific time, if someone had said to me, this is going to be a good thing in your life, I would have said, you are effing crazy. But in retrospect, when I'm able to look back and see what came from that, how it changed me as a human being, how I was able to move to a new career and change my life in such extraordinary ways, help so many people that I would never have been able to be in contact with or know about before, I realized that was actually one of the best transition points in my life. So what I'd like you to do is take some deep breaths, because that's good for our body and that's good for our nervous system. And it calms us in the moment, wherever we are. You can feel your shoulders lowering when you do that. Take a moment to take a few deep breaths and force your imagination, if you need to think about at least 3 ways that this might turn into something good later in life. When this is over, when you can get out of your house again, when you can go out freely into the stores, when, yes, we're going to go back out and maybe businesses will have closed. We're all going to be in a financial situation that isn't as great as it was before. Well, you know, there are some businesses that are actually doing well now, like delivery services like Amazon and so on. But for the average person, it will be a financial strain to go through this period. When that's over, what good might come of this? What are some of the things that we can think of that will make our lives better, that in ways in which this will make our lives better or change our lives in such a way that maybe we will be on a different trajectory than the one we were on before. And the path now is one that's going to lead to good things in life versus maybe a path you were on that would have led to bad things. The attorney who was heading for a heart attack, who has to stay home for a month and reconnects with her husband or his wife and children and picks up that hobby that they loved before and starts an online business about that hobby, all around that hobby. Or it could be, you know, the siblings who weren't talking to each other, were fighting all the time and found peace during this period of time. They found a way to reconnect with each other. It could be the friends and family you reach out to now because you have the time that you didn't have before, and you realize how important they are in your life, and you will continue that connection once this is all over. There are so many potentially positive things. I truly believe that when this is over, our world will be, we'll wake up to the path we were on for so many of us, especially in the Western world, a path of work, stress, anxiety, poor eating habits, not taking care of ourselves, and having this enforced time to really look within more than we ever have, and be quiet more than we ever have, and be still more than we ever have, is going to be a good thing. How many workers, when this is over, are going to go back to their boss and say, hey, I never realized I can work from home. Why do I have to drive to the office every day? Let's institute a work from home. How many bosses are going to say, wow, my employees can work from home. I don't need this huge building. I'm going to find a smaller building and only require people to come in once a week instead of 5 days a week or 6 days a week. These are the kinds of changes that actually could happen. And I think if we use our imagination to look forward to that it's a much happier place to be than mired in the anxiety and the worry and the fear. And I've said this before, I'm totally not immune to this. If I let my mind go there, of course, I can get freaked out and worried about this as well. I'm in the high risk group. If I am, someone who has if I got a bad case of coronavirus, it could be the end of my life. And of course, that's incredibly anxiety provoking and fearful. I still haven't had my test results come back, by the way, so I don't know if I've actually had it yet or not. And fear of death is there for everybody. And what I tell myself is, it was going to happen anyway. It's always going to happen. Ultimately, that's what we're all leading towards. And so to worry about it today, right now, while I'm in my house with my safe roof and my beautiful windows and the gorgeous sunshine and my dogs and my husband here with me, that is not serving me. That is not helping me at this moment. So I want to manage my mind in such a way that I am better able to be productive and look at what I can do now that's going to be positive and that's going to keep me in a much higher vibe. And it takes work for sure. And that's the work that we do in coaching. That's what I work with clients on in coaching, is how do we make that transition? But it can be done. That's what I want you to know. So if you're feeling stressed out, that's a great exercise just to start. Deep breath. And then I want you to write down 3 ways that this might actually end up with something positive as the outcome. You will be surprised at how that changes your focus and how you're feeling in the moment. If you're stressed out, anxious, worried, if you're having trouble, if you have challenges right now in this very unusual, and I'm going to say unique situation that we've never found ourselves in before, I would love to help you if I can. Please reach out if you need help, if you need support, Ricki at rickiheller.com, or just leave a comment here, and I will be much more than happy to get in touch with you. All right, everybody, stay safe. Let me know how you're doing in the comments, please, if you see this video, and I will talk to you again soon. Love to you all.